All right, class, so the last problem on your review, number 15, is multiplying complex numbers. And when you multiply complex numbers, one of the key things you need to remember is that I itself is the square root of -1, which means by definition that I squared is equal to -1. So anytime you multiply, there's going to be times where you come up with I times I and you get I squared. And any I squared can be replaced with -1 so you can simplify your answer even more. So let me give you an example with A right here. On A, I don't need to FOIL because this does not have two terms. The 3i doesn't have two terms, it just has one, so I just distribute in. I don't need to do FOIL on this one, so I'm going to just distribute 3i times that and 3i times that. So 3i times -5 is -15i. And then 3i times -2i, that's -6i squared, because I did I times I is I squared. And what I have to remember is that I squared is equal to -1, and so I plug that in for I squared. So that becomes -15i minus 6 times -1. You see, I replaced the I squared with -1. So this ends up being -15i plus 6, because it's minus -6, and that would be my answer, -15i plus 6. Or you could write it as 6 minus 15i, or 6 minus 15i would be the same answer. So that's how you do one like A and B. I'll leave B for you. And C. C is pretty much the same thing as well. A, B, and C are all pretty similar, pretty easy. Now I want to do E next, because I want to do one like this where it has two terms, a complex number times a complex number. Those are both binomials, so that means you have to do FOIL. So I'm going to do FOIL on this, where I do first 15 times 2 is 30. Outside, 15 times -I is negative minus 15i, that's outside. Inside, 2i times 2 is positive 4i. All right, and then last, 2i times -I is -2i squared. And remember, I squared is -1. So I'm going to plug in -1 for I squared and start combining like terms. So I got 30, and then -15i plus 4i is -11i. -15 plus 4 is -11, minus 2, and then -1. I'm plugging that in for I squared, -1. All right, so this ends up being 30 minus 11i plus 2. So my final answer, 30 plus 2, is 32 plus 11i, and that would be my final answer. All right, so that is E, and that's how you do a FOIL. And you're always, when you multiply these i's together, you're going to end up with an I squared. You're going to have to plug in -1. That's kind of the part you need to remember for the test. I squared is -1, something you should like immediately write on your test. All right, and then F is like a combination of addition, subtraction, and multiplication. It's kind of a unique problem on this review, because I've got some multiplying happening right here. 5i times 2i is -2i. And what do I get? I get -10i squared. And then I have to distribute this -2 to both of these. Distribute. And so what's -2 times -5i? That is positive 10i. And then -2 times 5 is minus 10, like that. All right. So None of these actually combine yet, because I got to get rid of this I squared first. So remember, I squared equals -1, so I can plug that in for I squared. So this is actually -10 times -1 plus 10i minus 10. -10 times -1 is +10 plus 10i minus 10. And look at this, 10 minus 10, those cancel, those go away. And so it leaves you with just 10i as the correct answer for F. All right, so that is number 15 on your review. I'm leaving D, B, C, and D for you to try yourself.